Hello, my name is Walter Graf. I'm working for the Product Development Group Storage at Fujitsu. And today I would like to provide you with some decision support on how to better manage data growth in backup and archiving environments. And we'll have a particular focus on how ETERNUS CS High-End, our data protection and archiving appliance, will be able to help you exactly on this. When you look at typical challenges with large data centers, there is one very apparent challenge, and this is that there is still a high level of data growth. And particularly, this data growth is growing at an exponential level. And in contrast to this, the cost level needs to be maintained more or less on the same level. It may be even that it has to go down here. And this seems to be a little bit like a contradiction, and this is the main challenge you're facing here when you talk about this managing data growth. When you look at typical environments today and let's start with the backup portion here first. And when you look at the typical backup challenges in today's infrastructure environments, then you will realize that you have a lot of storage installed anywhere. In a larger environment. And in most of the environments today, you're using a backup application. And all the major modern backup applications, they use a grid-like approach to solve this task. This means they have a number of backup servers, they work like nodes in a grid, and they are eventually managed by a master instance. That makes this very flexible and easy, so you have a single point of administration, and you have a scalable concept of nodes that can grow along with the storage in the infrastructure. So this is nothing new. It's state of the art how most people today act when it comes to backups of larger environments. However, I think it's worth to have a look one level down, and this is at the storage level. Because all these nodes will store their backup data somewhere, and typically this is done either on disk or on tape, typically on both. And you have, of course, to scale this backup storage as well along with the number of nodes that you are involving in the system. Today there is a major trend, and this is, I think, also okay, to have these backup repositories encapsulated in appliances. The critical point with this architecture today is that all these appliances that are available in the market have a limited scalability. That means you have to deploy multiple of these in the environment, and unlike a master server controlling its backup service, these appliances appear as individual silos. And this has a fatal effect on this cost level, because you have to manage capacity for every machine, and that means as soon as one of the nodes reaches its limits here capacity-wise, the administrator has to take action to move the data to another place or to use another repository and so on. So the whole situation is that this becomes highly complex in management, and it's extremely inflexible. It looks easy on the first look, it becomes very complicated, particularly for large organizations in the end, because it's very burdensome to move the data back and forth between these devices, particularly when you come at the end of the capacity limits. So now let's have a look how this is changing with ETERNUS CS High-End. Again, we have this capacity cost problem here. We have the cloud of data where a lot of the disks are installed, You have the backup application that follows this master principle. And what we did with Eternus CS high-end now is we were following the same principle here. So also what we are introducing is we introduce a master component that controls the rest of the Eternus environment. And the rest of the Eternus environment is basically constructed similarly to the backup application in form of multiple nodes that are installed in the system. And there is also a multiple storage concept underneath. And now comes the interesting part. The master component controls everything, and in addition, all these components here, they are connected to each other. So everybody can talk to everybody. That suddenly means that this whole environment looks like one very large and scalable repository. So for the nodes here, it doesn't make a difference whether they contact this and this entry node, because they can access any storage underneath. And if the number of grids are the number of grid elements are growing on the backup application level, you simply add elements here in addition to grow along with this. And you still maintain the notion of a single system with a highly flexible capacity management. There is no need to take care on this backup application level to organize this in any form. Okay. In addition, what you can also do is you can also offload some of the data to tape if you like to, and that makes the system complete. So what you in turn get is you're getting an economy of scale that directly addresses this issue, capacity versus cost. Because you get the economy of scale in both performance and capacity. And that results in lower overall costs. That's the first part here of the story. Now let's continue. What else can Eternus CS offer? When you look again at the infrastructure, you will recognize that you have a high requirement for SLAs. Because if you're losing data here, you want to be absolutely sure that you can also restore the data back again to this infrastructure. That means there is a high expectation with regard to availability of this backup data here. And this is again to be seen in the light of the cost limitations here. So we solved this problem with Eternus CS in a very elegant way, because we have the idea, not only the idea, we actually executed it, that the backup application should only maintain a single backup copy. And of course, the requirement is that the single backup copy this backup application is maintaining is a secure and always available copy. And we reach this level of availability by simply having this backup image spread multiple times across our system. Of course, you can use disk, but you can also use tape as a very cost-effective means of having duplicate copies available in the system. And the interesting thing now is that the backup application only sees a single backup copy, rather than having to maintain multiple of them. This management is completely and automatically done inside Eternus CS, so that in case the backup application requires the backup image, and that backup image for some reason has gone away here or failed or is corrupt or so, the system internally will file over to the other copy and will make that available. And the system here, the backup application, will not notice anyway. And furthermore, if there is a failure in the system will not only fail over, but it will also recreate the failed copy and thereby introduce some self-healing mechanisms. And that is an additional level. It's not only that we're able to fail over, we are also able to self-heal the situation and return back to full redundancy levels very easily. And this is completely automatically without any operator intervention, and also the backup application at no time needs to be involved in this. So that ultimately leads to a very robust system. So we are adding robustness, and at the same time we add also simplicity in the concept, because this is handled inside this backup appliance. And again, we are addressing these two main issues, data growth versus a constant cost levels. Okay. So having a look back again at the backup infrastructure here, or at the data infrastructure in this cloud environment, you will probably recognize that, and I think this is true for any organization, there is a lot of inactive data somewhere in this environment. And of course, this inactive data will normally participate in the daily backup. Of course, you can try to optimize your backups in a way that you avoid backing these inactive data up all the time. But there is also an intelligent way to say, okay, I would like to move this inactive data away from the active network of storage. And this is exactly what the ETERNUS CS High-End also supports. It supports a kind of a file service for inactive data. And that means you can again extend the number of nodes here and introduce a new service, and that would be a file service for inactive data. So rather than having the inactive data sitting here and participating in every day's backup, it's moved off and it's used inside ETERNUS CS High-End. Okay. So, looking back again at the infrastructure here, of course, there is the idea of having archiving data. And particularly in larger organizations, there are a lot of archiving applications typically available. It's not only one, there are many of those applications out in the network. So you have fields, topics like ERP, email, particular file environments that need really a very complex archiving scenario, and so on. And all these different applications you're operating from an archiving standpoint of view, they are using their own archive space here. And that in addition imposes the problem that, again, you're ending up with a number of silos here that I think can better be integrated. And this is exactly what ETERNUS CS High-End also delivers. You can simply extend it with nodes, and you can suddenly store also the archive data, the true archive data, I would say then, or call it this way, can move it inside ETERNUS CS High-End. And to really to explain what we mean by archiving, it's really that we are able to offer legally compliant archiving. And in addition, it's also KPMG certified. So looking back at the picture here, this becomes a unified backup and archiving target. So ETERNUS CS is a unified backup and archiving target. You can, with ETERNUS CS, you can serve backups, you can move inactive data off to the ETERNUS CS, and it can work as a consolidation platform for archive repositories. And it's all possible because we have the economy of scale in both performance and capacity, and we have the necessary robustness. And this all is possible with a simpler operation in the end, and that means also lower costs. And this is basically the main strategy how ETERNUS CS is working. And therefore, you could also consider it as a kind of a Swiss Army knife for the whole data protection and archive environment. It could also, yeah, okay. And having said this, I would like to thank you very much for your attention. And if you like to know more about us, visit us at ts.fujitsu.com/eternus. Thank you very much.